Guess we better get up there. Alright guys, we're gonna have to power walk because I know, that's what I said. We're gonna power walk now to get to the boat. Alright, I'm gonna turn you guys off. Well, maybe I won't.
We're not gonna make it.
What do you mean we're not gonna make it?
It's a long ways.
It's not that far, is it? Alright, yeah, we're gonna turn you guys off.
On the Silver River today.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Martin. I'll be your captain and tour guide and your Coast Guard licensed professional, so you got nothing to worry about here, according to my issuing officer. But we have to go over some safety things, so let's get that out of the way. First of all, feel free to stand up at any time and get your full 360 view, but I do ask that you put your sea legs on first, because I don't want anybody, you know, tripping, losing their balance, hurting themselves. You especially don't want to fall on that glass, because that is real half-inch thick plate glass we're looking at, perfect for looking through, but if you fall on it, it would probably break, and the fish would probably laugh at you. Neither of which are advisable outcomes. Also notice the fire extinguishers in the corners up above your heads. Please no smoking or vaping at any time. Also, a first aid kit is on board if you need a first aid of any kind, you know, band-aids, aspirin, something like that. For more serious medical emergencies, please feel free to interrupt me, get my attention, and let me know so that I can turn this boat around, take it back to the dock, and call EMS if necessary. Should we need to abandon ship for any reason, your life jackets are overhead. We got child size to the front, both sides in the middle and back.
I feel like it's dirty.
Those will go over your head, strap around the waist, clip in the front, exit then through the front or the back, and then make for the shoreline like your life depends on it. I'm not saying it will, just, you know, if you need any assistance, don't worry.
Look at the duck in the ground, in the water, Tyler.
You know what I mean? Luckily we've not even done yet, so let's keep it that way, shall we? Now that we come to this area of the Silver River, away from the river current, we should see more fish.
Oh, there's some fish down there.
Mostly sunnies like this one with the blue stripes. That is a bluegill sunny. We're also home to 7 types of bass, 2 types of catfish, 2 types of gar, bullets, gopher, and
30-40 feet deep.
I'm not asking that, I'm asking about the...
Down there we have our first major spring as well. If you see where the rock opens up, that is a 26-foot deep event called the Spring of Stars, named after the many Hollywood movie stars I have filmed here over the years, including Burt Reynolds, Jerry Lewis, Jackie Gleason, James Dean, Jane Russell, Sean Connery, and Johnny Weissmuller, the original Tarzan from the 1930s. Over 250 Hollywood productions have been filmed in this water over the course of about 90 years.
Wow.
All owing to the sheer quality of the water, as you may have noticed. All of this water is spring generated, fresh out of the ground every day, averaging 72 degrees Fahrenheit, and usually 99% pure or more. Which, according to the FDA, makes this water theoretically safe for consumption. I say theoretically because the rest of it comes from the fish, so... And on that note, those fish are the real stars now, given that we're a wildlife reserve, and have been since 2013, so we don't really allow Hollywood production anymore, unless, say, for a wildlife documentary or tourism videos, stuff where the fish are the main focus.
There's some there.
Given that they're stars now, some people call them starfish. Down here we have our next spring. At the bottom of that cave, it's about 36 feet deep, and that's where you'll find a vent known as the Creature Spring. Named because the creature from the Black Lagoon used to live down there.
Right.
Hey, he did. From 1954 to 1956, when they were making those original 3 movies, that is the cave they used for all the underwater cave shots.
Oh, wow.
Done by a stuntman named Rico Browning, who was a native from this area. Originally, he was a dive instructor, and that was his first Hollywood job. Chosen mostly for his ability to swim down there, perform a stunt, and come up again, all holding his breath. which is a good, skill to have when you're playing a water-breathing fish man. So he wasn't allowed to use oxygen tanks for most of that shoot. You may have since seen Mr. Browning in some of his other work. He did a lot of James Bond movies as a stuntman, for example. He also created the 1960s TV show Flipper, after watching a movie called Lassie and wondering what it would look like if the dog were a dolphin. And that was mostly filmed down in Miami and the Florida Keys, if I'm not mistaken. So you can go there for the Flipper tour once you're down here. Just a 7-hour drive. No shortage
How
of algae.
clear the water is.
Yes, it's the
So
end of the summer. We had a lot of hot summer days with all that photosynthesis, so no shortage of it this time of year. That'll hopefully go down over the course of the winter. And over here we have our next
what's
pair
that?
of springs.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Looks like that
wow.
one in front of us collapsed a bit, but this one in the back still seems to be protected. This is a vent known as the Popcorn Spring, which is 23 feet deep. You can probably guess where the name came from.
Wow.
Although that's not popcorn, of course. That is actually what Florida snowbirds call Florida snow. But scientists would call that limestone. Most of the bedrock in this river is limestone, which is mostly made of seashells from sea creatures that would have lived here back when all of this was beneath sea level over 30 million years ago. So most of the white rock in this river is seashell. Some areas where it gets shallow, where you might even see some intact fossils still today, so take it all in. We even have a saying here in Silver Springs: while you're here, enjoy the lime rock, do not take it for granted. I didn't come up with that. You won't mind too many live crustaceans though, because this is all spring generated, it's a little too dangerous for the predators given how clear the water is. You should see
this.
some seashells beneath us now in this area actually. Look about. A little dark, but still. Oyster, mussel, snail, periwinkle, and whatever else.
I missed it.
Oh, is that an anhinga bird coming up on the right to see that sapling there? That sapling there with that bird with the long skinny neck and the black feathers and the tan neck. Yeah, that is an anhinga bird. Anhinga, but around here in Florida, more people call them snake birds, as you can probably tell.
Where's it at?
Very common
Oh, in the
marshland
tree.
bird here, fish hunters. Despite being birds that fly, they go diving into the water looking for fish when it's time to hunt.
I'm fine.
And I do believe they were once in the running to become the state bird of Florida, given that they're fairly unique here, but they lost to the mosquito, I think. Yeah. And that's a female, I should point out. You can tell because it has a bright tan neck and a defined collar. If it were a male, it would have a darker black neck that blends in seamlessly with its stomach feathers. In the bird world, the men are the darker ones, and usually also the prettier ones. Just keep that in mind. And I think I saw a common shaft. We saw kind of a dark blue shark looking thing. Another fish there, yeah. Well, might as well talk about the grass, given how much of it we're seeing. Most of the grass you see here is known as eel grass, and I don't know why, as there are no eels here. Most locals call that riverweed instead, not only because it grows everywhere, but because it is genetically very similar to seaweed. But it's in a river, so, you know. As for the algae, that's not one species, that's multiple species. Some native, some not. And there are good and bad things related to it having it here. Most importantly, given that this is a river, and a spring-generated one, that algae produces nitrates, which eat away at algae in the water, so it does help keep the water clean as it continues to flow down the river. On the other hand, the more it grows, the harder it gets to see certain things here. Like, it's pretty algae covered, but you should still be able to make out a long, hollowed out half of a tree trunk line there beneath us. That is actually a Native American canoe.
Oh, wow.
Yep. That is a Native American canoe that once belonged to the Timucua tribe, we believe. The main tribe here from the 1200s to the 1800s. And we believe that not only because of the design, but also the material. All their canoes were built from cypress trees. That was their word of choice because, well, of a particular chemical compound called cypressine, which makes it very resistant to rot, so it can last for hundreds of years after death, fairly unchanged. In fact, that one's been lying down there for over 500 years now. Still looking pretty good. Some of it might still be here 2, 3, or even 500 years in the future. So, book your tickets, everybody.
Yeah.
As for the other structure next to this tree trunk, you probably wouldn't even believe me if I told you that that array of rocky-looking objects are actually the algae-covered, fossilized backbone of a sauropod dinosaur. You don't believe me?
No.
Sure.
Well, you shouldn't. It's a rock. Yeah. We thought it might have been a dinosaur bone once, but then the University of Florida got their hands on it, and, well, magic kills science, we'll say that. Actually, it's science that kills magic. Sorry. I got distracted by the ducks. See that? To there to the left, they got a couple of wood ducks. Fishing around that grass patch that's just starting to peer up above the water again as the water level starts to go down now over the winter time. Although odds are after Sarah comes through, it'll probably go up again. Alright, and coming up here, we have our next spring about to appear.
Oh, look at that.
This is a 30-foot deep vent called the Blue Grotto. Originally named the Blue Grotto in 1916 by none other than Thomas Edison, when he made the first ever piece of footage in this river that year. And taken aback by the blue shine of even in that deep cave, he called it the Blue Grotto. It's also the first magnitude of one spring we're looking at today, meaning it's the top category on the spring magnitude scale, which is a measure of water output. In fact, as much as 80 million gallons come out of this one vent in a day sometimes. And to this day, that one spring is responsible for between, I believe, 12 and 14% of all the water in this river. I mean, the Florida snow, just look the way it's blowing down there. Beneath all these many baby fish, considering that the top water is actually very, very calm. So there's more fish nests among the grass here than in most other areas in this river. In total, we have over 120 documented springs in the Silver River, but most of them are much smaller than this, obviously. In fact, a lot of them are no bigger than my thumb. We're looking at the 5 mainstay springs here, and they alone account for about, I believe, 80% of all the water in this river. It's a lot to realize over here, isn't it? And I imagine, can anyone here tell me, oh my god, a snake.
No.
Wait, no, it's a bird. See it dive there?
Yep.
That was an Anhinga bird. Yeah, you can see the snake bird at work now. Let's see if it pops up again with its skinny neck and pointy beak.
Was it a snake or was it a bird?
There he is over here.
There. Ah, yes. Coming here back now. Down again. Yeah, poking through there, looking for the fish nests. See if you can find something. See if it comes up with anything. Tick-tock.
We definitely need to rent kayaks sometime.
Sometimes more. Well, guess it's not coming back. There it is. and down again. Obviously, this spring water isn't just, manifesting out of the blue. It's all coming from somewhere. It's all coming from an aquifer known as the Floridan Aquifer, an underground series of tectonic plates and storage chambers storing groundwater that has seeped through the soil due to how thin it is here in Florida. And after about 100 years of pressurizing and heating up down there in the Earth's crust, it's rising up and escaping out of these thin spring vents. You can almost think of this as like the 24-hour geyser, if you will. That's why the water is so warm. In fact, come here any day of the year, and we'll always average 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Sadly, we don't allow any swimming, though. Only the lawbreakers can do that. See anything down there? Ah, yes, those big blue buggy-eyed fish. Those are ones you might be familiar with. They're called tilapia. Yes. The same tilapia you can find in public.
Oh, it's a turtle. Look at the turtle. He's running.
For food here in America, even though originally they're from Africa and Asia.
He's running. Are we
Somehow
gonna see him under
they
here?
went to this river about 40 years ago, I believe. Today they make up somewhere between 60 and 70% of the fish population. And given that this is a wildlife reserve, there's not too much we can do about them, unfortunately. No public fishing or hunting. That's why they're all named Lucky. Now, is that a turtle there to the left? It's a bit hard to see, but on a log next to the dock, you can kind of see the dark black shell and bright orange bottom of a turtle. What appears to be a slider turtle. The most common kind of turtle we have here in this park. In fact, it's the most common kind of turtle in America, to the point that you've probably seen them in any pet shop you've walked into in this country. Very common. Only the ones in pet shops usually don't get that big, as you can imagine. Out here in the wild, though, they keep growing and growing until the day they die. So they might reach lengths of even 2 or even 3 feet. A lot of turtle soup, I know.
Do you have snappers?
As for this dock, I want to point that out because this was originally constructed in 1958 for a television show called Sea Hunt. An old show about rescue divers in California, starring Lloyd Bridges, who you might have also seen in the movie Airplane, playing the guy who picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. But they built the main dock here and not California because they chose this river in which to do all the scuba diving stunts. Which is why if you watch the show today, you'll recognize a lot of the same freshwater fish in what is supposed to be the Pacific Ocean. Sorry if I spoiled the show for anybody. Coming up on this next cove, coming up to the right of us, I'd like to point that out because, well, Tom Cruise swam there once.
Oh, wow.
In 1985, he did a movie early in his career called Legend, and there's a scene in that movie where he dives off a cliff into that cove. It's called the scene where he was looking for a magic ring. We call it the Cypress Cove today. Maybe, just maybe, you can make out the fallen cypress tree towards the middle. But at the time, that tree still stood, and the cove was about 15 feet deep, so Mr. Cruise had no trouble diving in there. Especially being Tom Cruise. Sorry, I thought I saw something. I don't know, do you guys see anything? Well, coming up to the right, we'll get a bit of a view out onto the main garden. And standing in that garden is a large white building called the Twin Oaks Mansion, constructed as
Twin
a
Oaks
stage
Mansion.
in the 60s after this company was bought by the ABC Paramount company.
That's a
in Hollywood.
stagecoach.
And they used to do all sorts of concerts and festivals in the
Oh,
garden.
wow.
So they built that stage,
Oh, it was
and everyone from Creedence Clearwater Revival to Fleetwood Mac have performed there since.
Wow.
Now, what mostly sits there is a piece of history, especially with that lovely old asbestos paint. I think I saw a mudfish down there. And coming up to the right, looks like we got some more turtles. See that log there? Ah, and then he could too. And it goes again. Yeah, take a look. Up she goes. How many turtles have we got there? Counting 5.
Where are they?
A little bit about where.
The one right behind you. So don't get too curious.
Here, film them.
Ooh, that flat one, that actually might be a soft-shell turtle. That uniquely flat, wide, blue color, and that's usually the sign of a soft-shell turtle. They can get to be the biggest and oldest in here, sometimes living upwards of 50 years. Yeah, like most reptiles, these turtles like to spend their day doing, you know,
Nothing.
nothing. Enjoying the sun, enjoying the weather, warming up their cold blood. Basically the same thing snowbirds do here. So, yeah, you might see them on logs like these all day long. Yeah, it looks like that.
Oh, look at the baby one.
That soft shell. Don't worry. That beak like that is not designed to get through those shells. They are very tough. Now, if a gator were here, on the other hand, their bite force is the second strongest of any animal in America. They could probably get through that shell. Number 1 would be the grizzly bear. Yeah. Now it looks like the anhinga's drying out too. See, that's the funny thing. Despite being swimmers, their wings aren't waterproof like, say, a duck's are. So they need to dry the old-fashioned way. Alright, here's a bad joke. What do you call a bunch of turtles on a log? A shell station.
Bad joke.
Alright, and here's a question for all my fellow Floridians. What's all the gray stuff hanging from the trees?
Spanish moss.
Spanish moss, that is correct. You get no ring. Yes, Spanish moss. Which is a curious name, given that it is neither Spanish nor moss. It's actually a South and Central American air plant. We call it Spanish because they're the ones who brought it here. They were the original colonizers of Florida and much of Central and South America. And they apparently stuffed some shipping crates with it from there that they brought here, and now it's everywhere and out of our control despite efforts to try and contain it. Most famously, Henry Ford in 1916 started using this moss as stuffing for the seat cushions on his cars. And a couple months later, he had to issue a national recall because of many complaints of chigger bugs. No guesses where they came from? That's where the term Ford Motor Itch comes from, you know. So now we just let the moss hang around. No pun intended. Kind of like another famous invasive species here. Those being the monkeys. Have y'all heard of that? Anybody here ever seen a monkey? Oh, you have. Congratulations. It would make you one of the lucky few. They're not the easiest thing to come by here. Usually they tend to be deeper into the woods or further down the river away from all the activity here.
Oh, look at this.
Because they're not the biggest fans of people. Or me, I don't know. But we do have...
Let him climb out.
In fact,
Oh my
this is one
goodness.
of 2 wildlife reserves in Florida that has wild monkeys. Specifically because they were brought here from Southeast Asia. They're called rhesus macaques. And we've had them here since 1938. Any guesses why they were brought here then? You'd think so, but actually no. Believe it or not, we can't blame Hollywood for ever by one of our old park owners named Colonel Tui. When this park was really starting to take off in the 30s, he wanted more ticket sales, so he bought 12 monkeys for a jungle cruise that he opened here. The monkeys were placed on this secluded island downriver to keep them contained. And then 2 days later, we found out that they're pretty good swimmers. And that brings us to today, where they have gone from 12 to somewhere between 300 and 400. The good news is, if you do want to look for them, we do have a lot of hiking trails that crisscross these woods, so you have ample opportunity to get out there, cover some ground, and look. And if you do find them, congratulations. Just don't get too close, or they might defend themselves, which they tend to do with their feces. And they have good aim, too. Trust me. Some people learn that the hard way.
How long do they live?
Honestly, I don't know. I do know that adults can get up to 3.5 feet long if you were to like stretch their heads to their tails. So apparently they live long enough that some have ventured as far away as Jacksonville, though. Yeah. Alright, here we come to our final spring, which is really the first spring. It's the one where the whole river starts. We call this the Mammoth Spring. As you can see, it is quite mammoth. It's about 40 feet deep here at the deepest visible point. The deepest point, period, is of course the vent, which is at the bottom of the cave behind us. Looks like we got some common shaft and mulletfish down there, feasting away. It's 65 feet across as well, so that makes this about 7 million gallons size-wise. It's the largest spring not only in this park, but in the state of Florida, producing more than half of this river water every day, which historically might have been the equivalent of 350 million gallons in a day. At that same speed, you could fill an Olympic swimming pool in just 18 minutes. And that's why basically nothing lives or grows here. I mean, there's the algae and the fish feeding on it, but that is it. It's mostly just a lime rock. But as you can see, it still glimmers nicely, especially given how deep it is here. In fact, back in the 1800s, some prospectors apparently saw that lime rock glimmering in the sun and thought it was silver. As you can imagine, they were a little disappointed. But they did come up with something else while they were here. The name, Silver Spring.
Oh, you can see
These days we do have some valuables down there, though. Not just the boats people drop taking pictures either. I'm talking about 3 others that are going to be coming up to the right front of us. 3 creatures that live in this corner of the spring, and their names are Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, the Greek gods, as you can see down there. As you can see, these statues are sitting there. They're 7 feet tall each. It's 19 feet from their heads to this glass. And they've been down there for quite a long time. They're made of a special old material that we call fiberglass. Built for a 60s television show called I Spy with Robert Colt and Bill Cosby.
Wow.
Actually, there were 12 of these originally, decorated around the spring for a scene they filmed where they thought they found Atlantis, but then when they were finished, the other 9 were taken out. These 3 are still here for us to see, even though, as you can see, they are not algae proof, so once a month we need to get scuba divers down there to scrub them off and keep them looking fresh. Yeah. Because despite being powerful Greek gods, they're apparently not powerful enough to shave themselves. We've also had 3 James Bond movies that are filmed in this spring. Thunderball, Never Say Never Again, and Moonraker. And those first 2 did scuba diving stunts in the main bowl. Moonraker is a little different. They did a stunt right here over this ridge. This is where they filmed the underwater portion of James Bond fighting a giant snake. And the snake they filmed that with was a real 20-foot reticulated python that they borrowed from a zoo and brought here. Thankfully, unlike the statues, they did not leave it here when they were finished.
Yeah.
Happy to say. Not that we don't have snakes here, we do. Once you get out there, be on the lookout for water moccasins, occasionally copperheads, rattlesnakes, rat snakes, king snakes, squirrel snakes, garter snakes, water snakes, and look out for the dreaded snake birds. Not to mention the toy snakes in the gift shop. But as for the pythons and boas, you don't have to worry about those. They only live in the Everglades. And assuming the news wasn't lying to me, Kissimmee, as of earlier this year. So they're getting closer. Come back in 3 or 4 years, who knows? Maybe we'll have a python for you next time. But for now, I'm afraid that's just about everything I've got to show and tell you. Do you have any questions? Yes there are. It's a freshwater body in Florida, so they're somewhere, but in light of the fact that 1 is getting a bit colder and 2, the water level is still pretty high, they're not the easiest thing to come across at the moment. Once the water level goes down another foot or so, their typical river banks and grass patches will start re-emerging. They might come out to the river once again. For now, they seem to be retreating deeper into the woods. So, yeah, I'm sorry. We couldn't find any of those today. We do have some stuffed ones in the gift shop. Any other questions? Well, if anything comes to mind, let me know. Otherwise, let's see if I can stick the landing here. I do recommend everybody remain seated until we've come to a complete stop, and apologies in advance for any bumps. Also, bit of an old tradition on these boats. We've been doing this now for 140 years, since 1884. And in all that time, that glass you're looking through has also been the bottom of the world's largest tip jar. So that is the traditional place, let's say, if you would like to leave anything. But even so, I'm glad you could come and support our wildlife preservation efforts. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. And big thanks to our dock hand, Chelsea, whom I cannot do my job without. So big thanks to them as well. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, everybody. Be sure also to check around your seats. Make sure all your belongings are with you before you go, because anything you leave behind will go to the lost and found. And then after a week, I believe Craigslist. Thank you once again, guys. Now, once that rope is tied and that ramp is lowered, the yellow lines are still tripping hazards. Don't trip. Hope you had a good trip. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your weekend here, guys.
Thank you. Tyler. That was pretty cool. Are we looking? Do we see anything? Where at? Where at, babe? Am I seeing it?
Is it? Right against the wall. You see it though, right? With your eyes?
Oh, I see it with my eyes now, yeah. It's right there, guys.
I think it's a catfish. You can't really see his whiskers.
Right there. Okay. There's another boat, guys. I'm fixing to lose you. We had a good boat tour, guys. We got the right one. It's beautiful out here, guys. So beautiful. I would love to come kayaking out here sometime. It's about an hour and 45 minutes away from home. Silver Springs State Park. If you're ever in Florida. It's up close to Ocala. All right. Let's go find Tyler. Exit.
Bye.